In terms of the insulation, let's talk a little bit about the four different types. The first one, as I talked to you before, glass wool, yellow color, right? Fiber of glass. The second one, rock wool, it's a kind of greenish, brownish color, okay, really easy to identify, and it's fiber of rock. Among this type, the PUR of polyurethane, it's one of them, and the other one is polyisocyanurate, is another type. These two, they have, like, let's say they are like kind of brothers in terms of the properties. However, the cost of one and the performance of one is better than the other. And the EPS, though, the expanded polyester. So these different type of insulation, it's possible to have in between this steel layer. So let's talk about, like, what is the difference among them. Well, if you compare side by side these different models along the ones that we have on market, I will just talk and I will just ask you to have a look, please, on mineral wool or rock wool, glass wool, fiberglass or glass wool, and the EPS, and finally the PUR. In this chart, you can see the comparison of the different thermal insulation of the different families, okay? So it's interesting to know the different ones compared with their thermal resistance. How much is the resistance to the transmission of the heat? Okay, it's measured by square meter per Kelvin per watt. Okay, in the thickness, this one is already expressed in thickness of 10 centimeters. Okay, so you can see through the chart that the ones that are kind of the same performance as glass wool and rock wool. However, EPS and PUR has a better performance. In the case if you want to insulate, let's say one cold storage, you are in the food sector, you have a requirement of food containing the temperature in a room for the preservation of your product, no problem. We will suggest you a PUR cold storage sandwich panel. We have the capability to keep the temperatures in the range. Okay, so this is important that you might understand for your project or your client. Last part, the ceilings. Well, let's talk about them. The ceilings here we have two types. Okay, the first one is just normal ceiling. I'm gonna talk this one. This one has a ceiling, as you can see here. In the part where is the connection of the sandwich panel, you can have, remember that we talk about how to distinguish the different kinds? Well, in the center over here, where is the connection of the two different panels, we have one sector that is really defined over here. It is a kind of white color. Well, the white color, remember, what does it mean? It's PUR, PR, right? So in between of them, in between the sandwich panel, which is rock wool, and the other rock wool, there's one space where it's filled with PUR or PIR, which allows to seal the sandwich panel, preventing, in the case if it goes the water and there's a hole over here because the screw did it, it prevents that the rock wool, the fiber of rock, can be damaged. In this case, obviously, if it goes with contact of water, it starts to generate problems. It starts to generate. Okay, so this type of sandwich panel we also have in rock wool and glass wool, both of them. You can identify through the sagittal cut on white part and the other color, versus the normal one without sealing. Without sealing, it's all covered with no PUR, PR. Just such as, for example, in this case, let me just show you a little bit. In this particular case, it's a sandwich panel, yellow color. Remember, What color is yellow? What does it mean? It's a glass wool, right? In this case, you cannot see in between of them, there's no white, right? There's no PUR, PR insulation. However, if you compare with this one, in this case, this on your left side has insulation. You can see in the middle has the white part. Inside has PUR, PR sealing. In this case, it doesn't have. So the insulation, in case if there's water want to go inside, it will be much better in this case. Okay? So this is the difference of one and the other. There's another type of, well, we are just